This is lesson 3.3, solving multiplication equations. Suppose three friends order an appetizer of nachos that costs $6. They agree to split the cost equally. The figure below illustrates the multiplication equation 3x equals 6, where x represents the amount each friend pays. 3x is on the left side, and 6 positive 1s on the right side. 3x means 3 times x equals 6. To determine the amount each person would pay, we simply pair each x with 2 counters on the right, which means 1x, or x, equals 2, which means each person pays $2. The solution of 3x equals 6 is 2. Solve each equation using a model or drawing. 3x equals 12 in our first example. We would pair each x with 4 counters on the right, which would mean, in this example, x would equal 4. In our second example, we would pair each x with 4 counters, in this case negative counters, which means in this case x equals negative 4. So the solution of 3x equals 12 is x equals 4. The solution to 2x equals negative 8 is x equals negative 4. Example 3 we've modeled at the bottom. We have 4x and we have 20 counters. Again, we simply pair each x with 4 counters on the right, which means 4x equals 20, x equals 5. In our second example, one of our x's paired with 4 on the right. The equation is 2x equals 8, x equals 4. In our third example, we pair each x with negative 3 negative 1s on the right. Our equation is 3x equals negative 9, x equals negative 3. Equations like 3x equals 6 are called multiplication equations because the expression 3x means 3 times the value of x. So use the division property of equality to solve multiplication equations. The division property of equality says if you divide each side of an equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides remain equal. If a equals b and c is not 0, then a divided by c is equal to b divided by c with numbers. 8 is obviously equal to 8. If I divide both sides by 2, the same non-zero number, I get the statement that 4 is equal to 4. Obviously true. In my algebraic equation, 2x equals negative 6, I divide both sides of my equation by 2, a non-zero number, and my result is x equals negative 3. In example 1, 20 equals 4x. I divide each side of the equation by 4, a non-zero number. My solution then is 5 equals x. So the solution to 20 equals 4x is x equals 5. Number 2, a negative 8y equals 24. I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by negative 8. The solution to my equation then is negative 3 because y equals negative 3. In my 3 examples at the bottom. 30 equals 6x. I divide both sides of my equation by 6. X equals 5. So the solution of the equation 30 equals 6x is 5. X equals 5. In B, negative 6a equals 36. Divide both sides of my equation by negative 6. A equals negative 6. In my third example, negative 9d equals negative 72. Divide both sides of my equation by negative 9. D equals positive 8. Many real-world situations increase at a constant rate. These can be represented by a multiplication equation. In this example, it costs 10 cents to send a text message. You can spend a total of $5. How many text messages can you send? The total is equal to the cost of each message times the number of messages. Our total is $5. M represents the number of messages. Each message costs 10 cents apiece. So our equation is $5 equals 10 cents times M, or 5.00 equals 0.10. Divide both sides of my equation by 0.10, representing 10 cents. M equals 50, which means I can send 50 10-cent text messages for $5. Mrs. Acosta's car can travel an average of 24 miles for each gallon of gas. Write and solve an equation to find out how many gallons of gas she will need for a trip of 348 miles. So she travels 24 miles for each gallon of gas. We'll represent gallons of gas with G equals 348. Divide both sides of my equation by 24. I'm going to actually do the division over here so you can see it clearly. 24 into 34 one time, subtract 108 will go in there 4 times, which is 96. Subtract gives me 12. Put up a decimal point, bring down the 0. And 24 goes into 125 times, giving me a remainder of 0. The solution to my equation is G equals 14.5, which means that Mrs. Acosta will take 14.5 gallons of gas to drive 348 miles at 24 miles per gallon. A formula is an equation that shows the relationship among certain quantities. One of the most common formulas is the equation D equals RT, which represents the relationship among distance, rate, and time. The tortoise is one of the slowest animals, reaching an average top speed of 25/100ths of a mile per hour. At this speed, how long will it take a tortoise to travel 1.5 miles, or 1.5 miles? You are asked to find the time it will take to travel a distance D of 1.5 miles at a rate of 25/100ths of a mile per hour. So in our formula D equals RT, we would substitute 1.5 for D, which is our distance, 0.25 for R, which is our rate. Divide both sides of the equation by 0.25. Our solution then is 6 equals T, so it takes the tortoise 6 hours to travel 1.5 miles. In method 2, it says solve then substitute. Write the equation distance equals rate times time. If I divide both sides of my equation by R, I get a new formula which says distance divided by rate equals time. So I can take my 1.5 miles, divide it by my 25/100ths of a mile per hour, which will give me the time. 25 or 1 5/10 divided by 25/100ths is 6. Same solution as my previous equation. Takes the tortoise 6 hours to travel 1.5 miles. A sound wave travels a distance of 700 meters in 2.5 seconds. Find the average speed of a sound wave. So distance equals rate times time. My distance is 700. I don't know the rate. I do know the time. This would be my equation. I would divide both sides of my equation by 2.5. 700 divided by 2.5 is the same as 7,000 divided by 25 gives me 2. 8. 0. So the sound wave actually travels at 280 miles per hour. Solve each equation and check your solution. Number 1, 6c equals 18. Divide both sides of my equation by 6. C equals 3. Number 2, 15 equals 3z. Divide both sides of my equation by 3. Z equals 5. Number 3, negative 8x equals 24. Divide both sides of the equation by negative 8. X equals negative 3. Negative 9r equals negative 36. Divide both sides of my equation by negative 9. R equals positive 4. Antonio earns $6 per hour helping his grandmother. How many hours does he need to work to earn $48? So 6h equals 48. Divide both sides by 6. He needs to work 8 hours. A shark can swim at an average speed of 25 miles per hour. At this rate, how long will it take a shark to swim 60 miles? Distance equals rate times time. To swim 60 miles at 25 miles per hour. Divide both sides by 25. T equals 60 divided by 25 is 2.4 hours. The only vocabulary in this lesson is formula, which is an equation that shows the relationship among certain quantities. The example they used in this lesson was distance equals rate times time. At this time, you should stop the video, go back to my Moodle page, take lesson quiz 3.3. Remember, your username is your 6-digit student number, and your password is the first 6 letters of your last name, and your